Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. My name is Siti Nabila binti Abdullah. My number metric is 02DAT21F1003. Today we're going to talk about inflation. Firstly, definition of inflation is according to public understanding. Inflation is a condition which produces a rising trend in the general price level in the economy. Next, inflation is also a situation where there is too much money chasing too few goods. Inflation also can be defined as a continuous increase in the general price level of goods and services in the economy. Lastly, inflation refers to a continuous increase in the general price level, although the price of every product and service need not increase. Next, I want to talk about type of inflation. Inflation have three types, which is first, creeping inflation. Creeping inflation is a sustained rise in price by about 2% per year. Second, mid inflation. Mid inflation is a sustained rise in price by about 8% to 10% per year. And lastly, hyperinflation. Hyperinflation occurs when monthly price rise by 50% to 60% or more. Germany encountered hyperinflation in 1923, Hungary in 1947, and China in 1949. Lastly, I want to talk about measure of inflation. Measure of inflation is the consumer price index is used to measure the rate of inflation. Next, the CPI is an index that measures changes in the average price of consumer goods and services. The rate inflation is computed as a percentage change in the CPI from one year to the next. The following formula shows how the rate of inflation is computed.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Umira binti Khairuddin. My metric number is 02DAT21F1036. Next, I want to explain about cause of inflation. The first cause of inflation is demand pull inflation. Demand pull inflation occurs when aggregate demand AD exceeds the aggregate supply AS. It is caused by first, a rise in AD, which may be due to a rise in consumer demand. Second, an increase in the level of government expenditure. Third, a rise in investment by firm. Fourth, an increase in the demand for the country export by people in foreign country, or a combination of the four. The second cause of inflation is cost push inflation. Cost push inflation refers to an increase in the general price level associated with an increase in the cost of production. Occurs due to the increase in the cost or supply price of goods caused by an increase in the cost of input. The shift in the aggregate supply curve may result from various factors such as follow. First, wage push inflation. Wage push inflation occurs due to an increase in the wage level, which will lead to an increase in the cost of production and the output price. Second, profit push inflation. Profit push inflation occurs when certain producers stock up on goods and create an artificial shortage. Thirdly, import push inflation. Import push inflation occurs when the price of import raw material or finished good increase.
Hello and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Ain Farhana binti Hamizan. My number matrix is 02DAT21F1060. The effect of inflation is effect on production. The rising prices stimulate the production of all goods, both of consumption and of capital goods. As producers get more and more profit, they try to produce more and more by utilizing the available resources at their disposal. But after the stage of full employment, the production cannot increase as all these resources are fully employed. Moreover, the producer and the farmer will increase their stock in the expectation of a further rise in prices. As a result, hoarding and consignment of commodities will increase. Second, the effect of inflation is effect on income and employment. Inflation tends to increase the aggregate money income of the community as a whole on account of larger spending and greater production. Similarly, the volume of employment increased under the impact of increased production. increase production, but the real income of the people fails to increase proportionally due to a fall in the purchasing power of money. Thirdly, is effect on business and trade. The aggregate volume of internal trade tends to increase during inflation due to higher income, greater production and the larger spending. But the export trade is likely to suffer on account of a rise in the prices of domestic goods. However, the business firms expand their businesses to make larger profit. During most inflation, since costs do not rise as fast as prices, profits soar, but wages do not increase proportionate with prices, causing hardship to workers and making more and more inequality. As the old saying goes, during inflation price move in escalator and wages in stair. Next is effect on the government finance. During inflation, the government revenue increases as it gets more revenue from income tax, sales tax, excise duty. Similarly, public expenditure increase as the government is required to expend more and more for administrative and other purposes. But the rising prices reduce the real burden of public debt because a fixed sum has to be paid in installment per period. Lastly is effect on growth. A mild inflation promotes economic growth, but a runaway inflation obstructs economic growth as it raises costs of development projects. Although a mild dose of inflation is inevitable and desirable in a developing economy, a high rate of inflation tends to lower the growth rate by slowing down the rate of capital formation and creating uncertainty.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Ilira Balkis binti Ishaq. My number matric is 02D8021F1076. Today I will like to talk about measures to control inflation. A government can implement any one or a combination of monetary, fiscal and direct control policies. The first one is monetary policy. Consists of controlling the supply of money by the central bank, is enforced by using the different monetary instruments which aim at reducing the supply of money. The first one is open market operations. The sale of securities by the central bank causes a fall in the price of securities and thus reduce the supply of money. The second one is raising the reserve requirement. The central bank will raise the reserve requirement to reduce cash resources in commercial bank and force these commercial banks to restrict their lending activities. The third one is raising the discount rate or band rate. A rise in the discount rate also raises the price of borrowing funds from the business community, and this forces the bank system to exempt its lending policies. The last one is raising the interest rates. The high rate of interest will attract and encourage more people to save, and this will increase the level of savings. The second one is fiscal policy. A decrease in government spending and increase in the government's total tax revenue will produce a surplus projects. The first one is increase in taxes. An increase in taxes will reduce the disposable income of individuals and their consumption of goods and services. The second one is decrease in government expenditure. The government will cut the salary of all civil servants and postpone its development projects to reduce the purchasing power of the public. The last one is direct control measures. Price controls and rationing. The government will control the price of goods by fixing a floor price and a ceiling price. Rationing is where consumers can purchase limited goods and services using coupons. The second one is anti-hoarding campaign. This arises when reports are made against reducers and consumers who store goods unnecessarily. The last one is compulsory savings. This could by the way of the deduction from the salary of worker that is credited to workers' account. For examples, in Malaysia known as Employers Provident Funds EPF. That's all. Thank you.